Yo. Cash and the ticket is yours. Cash and the ticket is yours. Yo. Cash and the ticket is yours. Cash and the ticket is yours. Cash and the ticket is yours. Yours. Got lots of love. Got lots of love.
Welcome back. It's a brand new season of CGL.
This is just an absolute treat. These players are so damn good.
The talent on these teams is undeniable. Everybody on every team right now is making plays.
It's going to be an exciting start to the season, and it'll just get better from here on out.
We're about to step to a whole new era of Overwatch esports. So much exciting action is happening here on CGL that you do not want to miss.
Look who's starting it all off. It's Raven. No one necessarily figure out what is the right way to go just yet.
What a nice roll through from me. It's just gonna solidify everything for Mythos.
Does come back, and Arsario gets the mech, but I don't need a mech. I'll kill 4 anyway.
This is just a highlight reel for Arsario right now.
They're making a statement in the EU Masters here.
This patch is still incredibly fresh. There's so much to learn, so much to change about the way we play the game.
SKC, but the shatter is colossal.
Let's get it going.
Trades keep coming through. Laura, is he gonna be able to find these shots true?
Idu on the overclock with 2.
Here comes an Adelaide immediately into back. Fine skills, slicing and dicing their way through 2-3. So back and forth.
It has been a beautiful off-season, times for these teams to be able to level up, get stronger, and right of themselves for Season 15 here at CGL. And what better of a way to show off than our European talent here in the GM division. Patreon should be one heck of a day. It's already been one heck of a week so far with a lot of these teams, seeing a lot of returning teams, a lot of new players as well. But in terms for orgs we have seen, these are definitely 2 returning ones before us.
Yeah, EMC and DYS have been in CGL for, it feels like, long enough to be mainstays, most definitely. I'll put it that way. It's always great to see them return, and us return as well. At least, I don't know about you, but I think it's my first proper regular season cast back, and it does feel good. It feels nice. It feels like being home again. You get me? You know, we've had a long period of downtime, obviously only punctuated by the CGL GOATS tournament, which was in of itself a bit of a banger. But no, we've got a lot of CGL action that is going to be continuing over the next couple months. Obviously, we're introducing a new region with South America being fresh off the presses, realistically. And what else? More stuff, podcasts, obviously, that's around the breakdown. Make sure you tune in for that. More CGL watch parties. We're kind of trying to dial everything up to 11 this split.
I mean, yeah, there's a whole lot of Overwatch going on, and it's despite us being like kind of the beginning of everything, it is one of the busiest times of the year just because we're trying to kickstart so much, get everything going, and just making sure we can put on an awesome product here for the next few months. But, you know, speaking of potentially awesome products, remember we have a couple of matches here on today, of course, showcasing our EU talent here, but of course we got an NA game later on tonight. We got Shoes Production Crew versus Fellowship Esports going on at 8 p.m. EST. You might see a couple of familiar faces.
I wonder who could be on that team.
I don't know, man. I mean, you look at the profile picture, and it's like, man, it's a shot in the dark.
Oh, Lord. Yeah, well, anyway, make sure you do tune in for that. It should be an entertaining one, most definitely. But for the moment, EMC Kinaidos versus DYS Ratchet is going to be the game of the EU side of things in the EUGM tier.
Yeah, 100%. It's really, I want to see a good display from both of these squads here today, because seeing when we eventually get to the talent that we have in front of us, it is going to be something that we're going to be able to see and realize, okay, there is good talent. Teams that are more so players that are very experienced in CGL and throughout Overwatch as well. But of course, Patreon, I want to take a look at our map pool, because this is not playoff, so this is a set-in map pool. So what you see is what you get.
Yeah, he said that for CS, but we'll see if it's a little bit more true here. It's starting on Lijiang Tower, which is it's the most played map in Overwatch right now, right? It's so popular, always will be, and these teams are going to be so comfortable on it. Blizzard World coming up next, got some verticality, got some long sight lines, so that's where you saw more kind of Sojourn, more Winston. If you want to get a bit more divey, that's where we often see it. Interesting comp that we've seen, maybe not find prevalence recently, but be a little bit more popular, has been the Queen Zen comp that we saw played in the EMEA region. Colosseo, more brawl, kind of standard, and if needed, New Junk City, Rialto, and a possible second control should they be required. Pretty enjoyable map pool, if I do say so myself. Sometimes we get them and it's a bit like, oh, it's going to be Widow all day, every day, but this one feels like it's got enough variety.
Yeah, I think it really does, because we have some problems at times where it's very much back-to-back-to-back maps very much played the exact same way. Most of these are going to play very different. Lijiang and Blizzard World should give us enough of a difference where we see what these teams are very comfortable and also not very comfortable running, and honestly, how they want to work around with the ban system, which of course is implemented this season for CGL, which has made things, honestly, for the games we've already broadcasted, very interesting how to play around it, because a lot of them have not really been used in terms of protection. A lot of them have actually been targeted bans in this situation, so it's been really cool to see teams get creative and honestly make closer fights and closer matches due to that sort of thing. So I'm psyched up of how you want to go, because the first map is honestly where things are up in the air, because if you don't really know who you're going up against in terms of you're not super experienced against them, it's really hard to judge what exactly you want to take out for that very first map.
I think there's going to be a pretty decent chance that these teams will be aware of each other. I mean, a lot of the EMC Kinaidos roster was playing last season. There's going to be a lot of tape on it. As I remember, Snowflake, Smarties, Monarch, Alex, Lalazzi, and Varied were all on, I believe, EMC Helheim last split. And on DYS Fractured, I don't recognize these names as much. Then realistically, they're still going to have that knowledge from scrimming in similar elos. So I reckon that there is going to be that familiarity in the server, and that will inform these first round of bans. But also, considering it is a Lijiang Tower, we have a very small kind of area of characters who are actually banned, because it's a map which you only see a couple comps on, right? You could expect maybe a ball ban, a Pharah ban, or a backline ban. Those are kind of what I've been looking towards. But of course, we have to actually get to that point to see what it properly will be. I think we should we're getting to the point now where we should maybe take a look at who's actually going to be in the server. Now, I have mentioned them in a bit passing. So I guess let's bring up the rosters and see who we'll have on screen.
Yeah, we will here do that pretty shortly, but we do have it's a little bit of the ban going into effect right now for what I'm seeing before me, which, to be honest, I tend to completely agree with you on how this is likely going to go in this situation right now. It could be very interesting as well. Obviously, we've seen some very fun targets throughout the week already. It could be as simple as something trying to get rid of the Juno and trying to slow things down, but slowing things down, it's going to be the Lucio instead, so that Juno Brig has a good opportunity to still be out in full force, depending on this next ban.
EMC Kinaidos do like to play Lucio comps. I guess it forces, as you mentioned, like a Juno Brig, maybe an Ana Brig, if you so wish. But it does very much shrink what comps you can play. It kind of forces this more kind of standard backline as a core, something that has can hit, can exploit. But, you know, on the other side of things, you have that brawl capability, you have that survivability. Also, a support ban can't come through now. So it's going to be, I would assume, a tank ban. It's what you see kind of next most often. I think most DPS heroes we are finding out are very much replaceable. But there's still time, of course, for this ban to come through. They do have some time to deliberate, but I think most teams will have kind of figured out their bans beforehand.
Yeah, you have to go in having some idea as to what you want to do first, and the rest of it from there is kind of just an adaptation. You pick up that somebody's really good at Sojourn and you're going over to Blizzard World, well, you're going to get rid of the Sojourn at that point and give yourself a better opportunity there. But as things are right now, time is ticking away. Let's see if it really is going to be a tank ban. We've seen a time or two already where Hazard gets banned right off the rip, and it kind of just becomes kind of a jump to see what you switch to. I mean, we have seen a lot of that ball and that Sigma a little bit more. And ooh, that is a slightly interesting choice. I mean, it could also be a scenario where you just don't have anything you particularly really want to ban, and you just are perhaps saving a different pick for later.
I mean, I think when you get to a spot like that, it's very rare where you actually don't want to ban anybody at all. But in that case, you can always go towards like a Bastion ban, for example, to really just like totally vanish your ban into the ether. Sombra, I assume, does have some utility. It might be a targeted ban, of course. I'm not as knowledgeable about, I think I was, DMC DYS Fracture, who's got this headband against them. I'm not much mistaken. So they might want to play Sombra, maybe not. I would expect not. It's not that common of a pick. But if you wanted to play something kind of Wrecking Ball based, if you wanted to play something maybe even just regular Brawl based, right? The Sombra can be a huge element of disruption. EMP basically being a free fight win is such an issue against comps that want to snowball ults but don't otherwise have something so powerful. So it is an effective ban, in my opinion, but we will have to wait and see what people actually want to end up playing, because Sombra versus a Hazard is essentially a 50-50 matchup, right?
I mean, yeah, it kind of is. We've seen like a little bit of the action from that Sombra and things like OWCS phone. She was just playing Sombra the other day in that match against SSG, so clearly has some ability to have use, but you have to be careful how you use the MP as well, because it is a big fight win, but you want to make sure not to also over invest. But that's something we're at to see right now, Spectrum. We're getting to this match shortly, but of course, we got to take a look at both of these teams here today because stacked talent across the board here for EMC Kinaidos. Going to be starting out Smarties and Snowflake over on DPS, Lazuli on the tank, and then Cozier and Vario over on support. And again, people that you've already spoken much of, Spectrum, that you are mostly familiar with at this point, and players that have been around for quite some time, and honestly, very experienced, and it's right to have this level of confidence in them.
Yeah, like I said, while we were in the green room, Hunter, I did accidentally throw Vary's rank game a couple days back, so if you're watching this, I'm sorry. It will probably happen again, realistically. I haven't figured out how to shoot back yet. But no, as mentioned, most of these players have been in CGL for a hot second. Of course, Snowflake has recently rebranded, but very much a very strong mate player. The backline flexible enough to go onto just about anything. Of course, won't need to play Lucio just yet. But let's take a gander at the other team then to see who the opposition shall be. But before we get into speaking about DYS Fracture, I've got to say, I love these animated hero portraits. It just looks so clean. But, yeah, but this is a comp that we absolutely could see and start off with, right? The Brig going to be essentially a necessity. Now that Lucio's banned out, Hazard still very strong, even though not as hard meta as he was maybe in that previous. And Venture still very, very playable. So DYS Fracture with Revenge, Mod, Witty Weave, Ascend, and Chimps look to get involved here in our first map of the day.
Yeah, 100% love to see these faces once again here and get to see that battle between DYS and EMC going into this first wave. We talked a lot about these bigger orgs that have multiple teams throughout a lot of these tiers right now and how we're going to be able to see them go up against not only teams in their own org, but from these other big orgs that have a lot of teams. We talked extensively the other day about the war that we're going to have in that NA Open division because we have, it's like 4 teams from Agave and like 5 teams from Vicious that are going to be going head-to-head multiple times over the course of the season. Should be pretty entertaining to see. But we got to focus on EMC and DYS here today because I think genuinely this could be a kind of a coin flip here as to who wins this one, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, we can make all the predictions we want, but at the end of the day, we've got to see what's born out on the server. On paper, could be very, very close, but I think what we have seen is that Hazard has been one of the great separators. I think Hazard and Malga as well before that was a huge ravine, realistically, that showed just how big the gap between various teams was. You know, teams that would be fighting relatively close on previous patches just seem to have their minds like obliterated by the Malga, and now the Haz. So I think it is a huge kind of indicator of how good a team is, and more importantly, how good your tank player is, right? Hazard is so strong individually, right? You've got such that pick power that if you just have a mechanically strong tank player, something that in maybe, for example, a Winston meta is nice to have becomes like a free like game winner, the same way as having a strong Sojourn would have been in metas past. So a huge thing that could decide how close or far apart this game could be is just how strong the tank players in the server are on the day.
Yeah, it comes down to that tank player a lot of the time because I talk extensively about when you get down to a 4v5 situation, it's still winnable if you lose like your Lucio. It's still winnable if you lose like your Tracer. You go out there right at the gate and lose like your Hazard or your Winston, it becomes nearly impossible to really kind of pull that fight around unless you kind of go for the ult up and take that risk. So, as you've already said, it's something we're going to have to see here as teams getting ready to head into this one to Lijiang Tower. One of those maps where you don't have the thing you could talk about before where, oh, you know, it's a newer map, or maybe the meta shifted a certain way to where, you know, there's no such thing as that in this situation. It's Lijiang. It's been here since this game's inception. Everyone knows every inch of this map. It's going to come down to pure skill and pure understanding of this game.
I think Lijiang is the second most played map in Overwatch in the last Face It season. I think it had like 20% or so of the total playtime. I think the only map played more was King's Row. So people like this map, I'll put it that way. But no, as you mentioned, everybody will be absolutely locked into how it's going to play. Recently, we've basically just been seeing the Hazard. I haven't watched the games just yet with the new Torb in, so I'm a little bit behind the meta in that respect. But the general Hazard variations we were seeing was Aura instead of the Tracer sometimes. You can get that spam in. And when you are on control center, you can get away with maybe a Moira, maybe a Juno rather than a Kiriko. Juno generally is a hero who's definitely in the place. I've made it the then Kiriko can be able to add a little bit more. That's your hitting is higher, your ult is better, and that's kind of it, really. You kind of lose out on the damage, but you don't really care that much. Comp's beginning to be locked in. If DYS Fracture actually plays this, I will respect them so much, but how playable is this kind of Zen or Brig kind of composition here on Control Center? I've got to say no, not really, right? The issue is the Zen is so vulnerable on these closer sidelines, but this is what they're running out on. Care Ascend here, because this Zenyatta's survivability is going to decide everything about DYS Fracture's play here.
Yeah, 100%. Gonna see things roll on right now. Seeing Ahmad over on the ball is gonna be extremely interesting. This is kind of like duality of man that we're seeing in the situation right here. Some teams very much sticking to the style that we see with the Hazard, and other teams decide to go play ball and with the Brig and the Zenyatta. So it's even a situation where Ahmad is obviously going to be able to go and hit a power drive, and Witty be able to follow up with the essentially the cleanup. But for the time being, having a little bit of troubles. They're simply just trying to surround, make something happen as Cozier. Maybe the first one to go down in this situation right now. Laszlo doing a great job of just holding down the front line up here, pushing everybody back. And it's creating a scenario where somehow DYS is so keyless on the side of it, but Spec, sooner or later, not having the tank kind of really in the fold, is going to eventually pay its favor.
Yeah, we're going to be backing up at least for now. Obviously, you've got that one pick onto Cozier, who's going to be the other kind of vulnerable target in this composition. And it will be the back out for now. Point will be flipped over, but it's such a fast reaggress as possible here from EMC Kinaidos, and a pick onto Mod 2 makes this so much easier.
Yeah, and it's going to become rough at this point. Ravage already has opted to simply get out of there, take a bit of the reset, and to be honest, there's no reason to try to extend it and feed all charge, but Pulse managed to stick, so Witty actually makes this very winnable.
Yeah, a huge double kill. The second kill posthumous, but still going to clutch up, do both sides. EMC Kinaidos on the back foot, but not out of it yet.
Yeah, it's still going though. Ravage has gone down, but it's be a great cleanup right here. Eventually going to try to force some bodies out. Mod still hanging on the point. Unfortunately, doesn't really have the bodies to be able to kind of assist in taking it back. Rico going to get forced by Witty Weeb as well, and eventually it's going to force him out and just take a small little reset here.
Yeah, stabilization found. Been very back and forth so far. Look at the ultimates that both teams have. Everybody is so close. The main issue here is DYS Fracture not having this rally. That's a huge amount of survivability. That's not going to be accessible to them in the future. EMC Kinaidos, if they're able to get their ults going, okay, that's not the greatest start, but still could be able to maybe leverage this into another fight win.
Yeah, 100%, but that fight might already be cooked right there. It's already going to be killing off a lot of this back line. Cozier going to be sent back, and another reset is in place as Mod did the best to stay alive, hang around, try to get rid of Lazuli as fast as possible. Lazuli want to stall for as much percentage as possible, but it's only going to be about 60 here, as going to win that fight with no ultimates. And Spec, we got a 10 ult fight coming on the way.
Yeah, the issue with this double flex backline that we see from Varied and Cozier is going to be to the dives. We're kind of already seeing that issue be exploited. That's why we see the break played on the other side of things. As you mentioned, the 10 ults, EMC Kinaidos will be better, particularly the Orbital Ray and the Nano Boost on the side of EMC Kinaidos, but will it be enough?
Yeah, gonna see right now. We see that downpour come down. It is not gonna catch on to anybody. It's gonna cause a little bit of separation though, as we see this railgun online. Raven is trying to find something with the overclock, but Rest is doing a really good job of cleaning things up off of that separation right now. Lazuli looking for their own cleanup though, and it's down to that 2v3 right now as Lazuli to see if it flip over the point. But unfortunately, with Mod being around, it is just not gonna happen in this situation.
It don't seem like it, does it? Lazuli goes down, and yeah, EMC Kinaidos walk in. They kind of use all their battles, and so do DYS Fracture, and now we're looking at a quad supportal fight. Again, on paper, the Nano Boost and the Orbital Ray are stronger than the Rally and the Transcendence, but it might not be enough. The defensive sidelines have been so hard to break from the side of DYS Fracture. They're just sitting here and spamming in damage. I'd love to see Ascend's damage that right now, because it should be insane.
Yeah, but that Transcendence still already does have a backup plan just in case, but Ravage has already gone down, unfortunately. That's Trade Speed getting to come through at this time right now. Transcendence still ready to go. Chimp's not going to be able to use that rally for this fight, unfortunately, though, as Mod is in a rough situation. Going to pull back, take a bit of a reset, and set up for potentially one more fight that should realistically decide the winner of round one.
the only using the nano boost isn't bad. Obviously, the nano target onto the Ashe isn't what you'd always expect to see, but it gets the job done. Now, whilst you are going to be a little bit behind, again, you've still got the orbital array. It's still a huge tool. And you'll be much better at fighting in these brawl fights than this ball comp will.
100%. But 80+% right now. It's going to come down to these right now. Ascend's going to have a very good answer for a very win. They're eventually going to have this right coming along the line. As Witty Weeb is going to get rid of Cozier first and foremost. And yeah, now you just have your Juno for those heals right now. Everyone has to play a little more carefully as Lazuli is going to force out the ultimate right here. So Transcendence going to get forced away. Going to see the orbital ray being used, but unfortunately not going to find a ton of value. Downpour last attempt to try to make something happen right now. It's a 3v2 situation. You see the hunt down as everyone's trying to hunt down Varied. It eventually works out, but they need to get back to the point. Barely managed to find a touch right now. Is going to get knocked into the Pulse Bomb as Cozier back on the Kiriko just to help out a little bit. Cozier might not be long for this world in this situation. Everybody trying to come back, but Mod has been taken down. Mines are right around the corner, and it might be a stall game to try to get Mod back in time, but finally the damage numbers might be taking over, but they're eventually going to go in for the retouch. They do not retouch the point! And first round, EMC going to take this one. I mean, that was already a wickedly close round between those two teams.
I was so confident that it was going to be the... that was going to be the side of DYS Factor taking it. They look so confident. You know, all their victories seemed a little bit just stronger. They felt like they had the lead in this overtime. Kills weren't going clearly in their favor, but Lazuli was solo. Bob on the cart is there, but Chimps just stands on top of the pulse bomb. This gets just rides it all the way back to spawn. And because of that, EMC Kinaidos up 1. A necessary boon for them, though. The Wrecking Ball comp is so strong on a Gardens in particular because you have access to these kind of bridge boops. So watch the kind of left area of your screen a la here, because that's where we will normally see these environmental kills come through.
Yep, 100%. As Klaus not really changing in this situation. Didn't expect them to fully either. It's a good place that Garden Share the ball can be very effective right now, but EMC could have a fun time simply running it down and winning. Unfortunately, not having a fun time of their own right now. But Ascend, we already talked about Ascend earlier on, has already been doing a lot over in the Zenyatta role as Lazuli is in the worst place you could be right now if you are a tank player. And that could cause basically the fracture here for EMC to be able to, unfortunately, maybe give up this point right now as Fracture getting to take over a little bit, but Varied's still very much alive, very much dealing damage. And these kind of trades are nasty overall, but Witty Weeb has come back in with a 2K. Looks like DYS Fracture will be able to go through, take this first fight right here, as unfortunate mistakes made early on in the fight.
Oh, wait.
Huh?
It might not be over just yet, right? Witty Weeb's gone down. There's a second touch from the Genji if it can come through in time. And though Snowflake is zoned, Lazuli's still back. Mod doesn't have enough damage to actually kill anything here. And it seems like EMC Kinaidos surely will get first cap here after finding the opening pick.
Yeah, it does come through. MC has that flip, and with Sparty's going down, I find it hard to believe that you can come back into this one right here as Varied eventually going to be taken out. But you are, you're fine taking your sweet time, kind of taking care of everybody else in this situation. But DYS Fracture eventually going to close in. Hopefully make business happen this time around. I do not want to be wrong twice in a row, as yes, the flip will eventually come through.
Okay, the first proper fight win we've seen in this sub-map, and it only takes like 3 or 4 pendulum swings. Listen, DYS Fracture close to most of their ults. The most important one going to be this Transcendence. As long as it matches pace with Lazuli's Downpour, then you're kind of okay. It is not the perfect response. You'd rather have a beat, but at the end of the day, if the Downpour lands and you don't have the Trans, then DYS Fracture will be as good as dead.
Yep. Mine's gonna be separating a lot of this backline right now. Break gonna get separated right now. Gonna have to kind of take the time to kind of move around and make something happen. But you think in this time you would have found a pick of some kind. But now Lazuli still hanging around right now. Still has both the supports ready to go. Transcendence gonna be activated. So Snowflake waiting for an opportunity as the Downpour has been used right onto Ascend right now. But long enough to be able to survive. Long enough to take care of Smarties. And now the Blade's gonna come online. Gonna get rid of one. Needs to find a second thing to keep things going. Unfortunately, it's not gonna come to fruition right now as you're trying to clean up. If you are DYS Fracture, looks like eventually the ticket is going to be punched here as we see a little bit of a cleanup. Ravage does get taken out, but the numbers game eventually will come the way. And so far, I mean, throughout this map, it's kind of been the Witty Weeb show.
It has absolutely been finding plenty of value on this Tracer, you know, redeeming themselves for that opening kill they gave over all so long ago. And DYS Fracture now at a very comfortable spot in this orb rotation. EMC Kinaidos, however, still have this orbital terrain at pick 2.
Oh, yeah, a little bit of the Casticus right there, as you can't do a whole lot to really stop this point from going over right now. You have to take a little bit of a Ravage, I thought for a moment Ravage got out there alive. Mod,
What a
unfortunately,
reset.
not able to do the same. Yeah, just a quick reset. Still have a couple good ults coming around the table here.
You've got the Ray, you've got the Rally, and when you are mirroring rallies out in the comp, then the important thing ends up being the tanks. Lazuli versus Mod. I mean, Lazuli's going to have such an easier time taking on these brawl fights, right? You have the damage, you can play inside of the Ray. It's a kind of tank use case that Mod just can't accomplish on that Wrecking Ball. Oh, what a pick as well!
Yeah, you don't love to see that right there, but the trades are coming back right now. Mind managed over to Smarties. Rally going to be activated right here as Ravage hoping to find something as well. Barely missing a shot that might have been needed on the Varied, and Varied is going to make them pay for that miss. Come online here without Orbit Array, before seeing Ravage to the rest of the squad. Back right now in DYS Fracture. Unfortunately, gonna lose that fight, and for this next fight, it's a must-win. If they take it quick, they do have the ultimate range.
They do, but we'll see how much longer that lasts for DYS Faction. Do have the mines to contest the cart. It's going to be annoying, at least, when they're kind of blanketed inside of the minefields. But outside of that, it's such a huge lead for EMC Kinaidos. Witty Weave is poked up, will be able to regress momentarily, and there's Versace.
Ooh, stick comes through, but it's going to be onto the shield as Lazuli has just decided,
wow.
hey, I want to win this map. I want to move on to map number 2, and at this point, it's looking very likely Ma going to get taken care of. It is just Witty Weave alive, potentially for a touch. Went and grabbed the Mega Health Pack. Will set up for a touch, but the touch is going to be pretty much meaningless here. No slide, no Juno to touch, and that's going to be EMC Kinaidos moving in, taking this first map. It was very back and forth, but once they got control of that point, they held it down tight, and Lazuli with a fantastic finish there.
I think a little bit hard done. Actually, if you are on the other side of things, like I mentioned, I thought their control center was so strong in a comp that maybe it wasn't optimal for it, but unfortunately, even though they get off on, eventually the right foot, they're not able to really keep it going, and here we get to see Lazuli's little 3-piece there. They're basically solo holding 3 members all on their lonesome. Fantastically played from both sides, but when all is said and done, of course, it is EMC Kinaidos who draw first blood. That being said, in terms of this comp, right, I mean, the Brig Bull Zen heading into a map like Blizzard World, which we have coming up next, that's really not so bad at all. You've got the long sight lines, and even though there's one ban available for EMC Kinaidos, DYS Fracture have the first ban, so they can go defensive. And also, you can ban, like, maybe the backline. You can ban maybe the Bull. But I've seen this comp played with Queen before. Vision Esports, like, to play it in EMEA. So you can't, like, stop them from playing their style entirely, which is going to be, again, an issue. If I am DYS Fracture, I would expect an Ana ban, probably. Ana stops Kinaidos from playing their style. You could do the same with Juno as well. Maybe Juno's better, thinking about it now. You get that support to protect through. And then if I'm Kinaidos, you just almost definitely just ban out that Wrecking Ball, right? Wrecking Ball is good on first point. Throughout the other points can be, I would argue, even mediocre. And I think kind of being limited in that backline is what might come back to bite DYS Fracture. So that's what we expect to see. But in practice, obviously, it will end up being very, very different.
Yeah, I tend to agree in that situation. I think turning off the ball is going to kind of make the biggest factor against DYS in this situation. For the Ana on the side of Kinaidos, though, that's... I mean, I can feel that being the case. If it was DYS having the first pick, I feel like it'd be as simple as picking the hazard and then just making sure your ball is protected. Unfortunately, that's not quite the scenario we have in front of us here. And it kind of sucks as well that out of the maps we kind of have remaining, at least from what we have to play in the first 3, ball is kind of in the best spot on Blizzard World. So gonna have to see whether or not that's going to be the case here. And on top of that, what the response from DYS is going to be. Because if you're going to Blizzard World and if you're not going to have the Wrecking Ball, what exactly do you pivot to in that situation?
With no Bull, like I said, it will probably end up being Queen, I think is my best choice. If your Monkey is playable, but you do have to change the backline, it's as simple as that, right? Like, on the map geometry, you can't get away with it with Monkey, Bull, Zen, or Monkey, Brig Zen, sorry, not enough healing, but Monkey that works on the rest of the map, so you go from to a Juno, that's fine. The issue with that comp, though, the issue with this kind of Brig, Bull, Zen, is that it's so singular, it's still based around the synergy between these kind of 3 characters, and to a lesser extent, your Flex, which has to be either Trace or Sombra, or your Hit Scan, which has to kind of be Ashe, Widow, Sojourn, all because they're low investment. like, it's all about how little resources you have. Everybody's supposed to kind of carry themselves, other than the Brig, who's kind of the linchpin of the whole strat. That you don't really have anyone else you can slot really easily into. The reason we see Queen is because she can use the bleeds to somewhat self-sustain, but it's just not the same. I still kind of hate that comp, and I think there's a reason Vision Esports haven't been finding the most success in OWCS EMEA. That being said, with the Sombra being unbanned, though, that's maybe something we can expect to see, right? Because it was banned out on map 1. We were maybe confused why, but seeing this comp, I think we can see a little bit more why that hero might be disallowed.
Yeah, and we're going to see the D.Va going to get banned in this situation here. DYS going to get rid of D.Va, which, to be fair, D.Va, a very usable tank here in Blizzworld, very good defensively as well, so I don't blame the pick whatsoever, but that means, obviously, going into the situation, Wrecking Ball, it cannot be taken out. None of the tanks, for that matter, can be taken out, so I imagine this is going to be a targeted choice towards the backline. The question is, which one is the correct choice?
I'd be so surprised if it isn't a break ban, right? We're on the dive map, you can just make the backline diveable. So if you remove this Brigitte hero, banish her, send her to the Netherrealm, then what are they going to play? Lucio Juno? They're dying on cooldown. Double Flex? As long as your Tracer has arms, they're dying on cooldown. So I think the break here is by far the best ban. But EMC Kinaidos maybe wanting... in fact, they don't want to play it themselves. Remember, they were playing Double Flex all throughout Control Center, even. This seems like the most cut and dry brick ban I've ever seen, but they are deliberating for a little while. They might go towards something else.
Yeah, you would think it'd be straightforward, but you never know. Sometimes you have something cooking in the kitchen. You think, hey, maybe we thought this was a bit more of a threat in this situation. We're not too worried about something like an Ana Break or a Brig Juno in the situation. Obviously, we saw before, we were talking about the same situation as Zenyatta will be the ban in this situation, which, to be fair,
It's like your second best ban, in my opinion.
That's fair.
Like, Zen is obviously fantastic at enabling the ball. It's great for your tank pressure. And it's great on these longer sightlines as well, where it can sometimes be hard to pressure him because the rotates to actually get on his ass is just so long. Like I said, I don't think it's optimal. I think that the Zen pick punishes 1 or 2 backlines, the Brig Zen, the Ana Zen. But I think the Brig would have punished a little bit more. But I guess the kind of flip side of things is that EMC Kinaidos themselves don't mind playing this Brig, so I guess they want to keep their own options open.
Yeah, plus, you look at the same time how Ascend was kind of doing God's work on the Zenyatta, like constantly getting rid of the Tracer if they went after them. So, to be fair, getting rid of that potentiality, I don't really blame that in that situation, especially on the one map where I think it is the most likely at this point. So, at the very least, you just take away that possibility. Again, you save potentially a better ban for the next map. And hopefully it pays off, because you can go into a 1-1 situation. You have a little more real estate to work with here, but it's something we're going to have to see as we're going to get things figured out here, Spec. Blizzard World, I think it's a fun map, personally. That's one heck of a pivot, but I think it's a very fun map. I've had a lot of fun memories.
For last point, I kind of think sucks. First and second, they were fun.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean,
like,
in comparison, yeah.
The Tracer flanks you can do on first point are great. The backline's so accessible while also being like hard to punish. I think it's a great balance. You know, some maps, it feels like you have to do some really ridiculous things, jump through some crazy hoops to actually get onto the support. Something like Dorado first, for example. Dorado second, actually, is a nightmare. It feels like the only way you can crack through that is just like a hit scan pick. But I feel it's got a good kind of balance between, you know, high grounds to play around, long sight lines. Well, you know, people aren't actually like unpunishable in Narnia. So shout out Blizzard for developing Blizzard World. They cooked with that one.
Yeah, it's like the picture of like Obama putting like a medal around Obama's neck. It's
exactly what it is.
Yeah. That is a nice looking map. As you can see, of course, we got the rainy weather here today as well. Love to see it. Hopefully, not gonna put a
just like home.
I can't believe you cut off my punchline. I can't believe you.
What was your punchline?
Spec, I'm deliberately not gonna help you later. That's all I know. I was making I was gonna say. It's rainy weather, but hopefully that doesn't put a damper on this map. Oh.
Yeah, I'm actually happy I cut that off. Good lord.
You know what? You can cast on your own. I'll see you later.
I'll take some free space. DYS reacted by those things moving towards a very standard composition. Actually, not something I would have expected considering their previous strat. Winston, Ana, Brig, Witty Weave going to be on that spawn peak. A slight point of interest is that we're not seeing the background go towards something like a Mercy Lifeweaver style to accentuate the pick power of the sniper. But this is also very standard. Just going to hook up and then swap towards that Tracer. Here we saw them find plenty of value on before. Lazuli is on the Sig as more of a comfort pick than anything else, but it is also a pretty good catch-all solution towards pretty much anything that DYS Fracture could play. And the rest of the combos are very, very standard. Oh, what a one clip!
Yeah, rule 1 in Overwatch, Spectron, do not stand still. Do not stand still. Always keep moving, because things like that happen if you don't. So, unfortunately, now you gotta wait for Ravage to swap. Already just gonna go back over to the Sojourn instead.
Did not take too long whatsoever. Realizes be under maybe too much scrutiny, and so decides maybe just not to. Oh, Mod's in deep, maybe too deep, down to 50 HP, but will be able to escape for now.
Yep, Smarties has been taken down, get a little bit of healing up. Now you can go in with that 5v4 advantage. Make sure everybody's healed up and good to go. Deliver some pressure. Force some cooldowns out of Lazuli as well. You love to see it in this situation, but now you start committing a dive here pretty soon right now. You see Brick right now trying not to be in too much of an awkward position, making sure to stay with somebody as Mod has been cut off a little bit. Gonna get taken down as a result, and DYS Fracture, good start to the fight. Unfortunately, it is not a good end.
So with this Sig, we're not really playing for a poke, we're more playing as like a hybrid between a poke and a brawl, right? DYS Fracture, they are kind of struggling right now because they realize that while they can't win poke phases, they also need to fully skip the brawl because they lose that as well. So they need to find DPS pressure, a nade, or just fully like ignore Lazuli, go straight to punching the backline, and that they haven't been able to set up for because Snowflake and Smarties have just been doing their job. They're not getting super like flashy kills, you know, all the time. But they're marking out the flanks. Witsy Weave and Ravage haven't been able to really play the video game. Exactly what you love to see if you're a fan of EMC Kinaidos.
Yeah, 100% great start as you can have in the situation. Not letting up any 6 so far, but ults coming online from both squads. Lazuli has a flux here, and honestly, there's not much to really respond against either. So if you're able to catch on to this backline, not a whole lot you're going to be able to do is, which is going to be given the Nano in the situation right now. Not going to be pretty much solo targeted here. Is it going to go down right away as Pulse Bomb comes online right now? As Witty is going to take a nice little bullet there for their squad and get rid of the Tracers in this situation right now. So, I mean, in this situation right now, it becomes a little bit more advantage for Kinaidos because now you don't have to worry about the kind of extra tool that Mod is going to be diving with. So, you kind of have to take this opportunity, take some advantage with it. As I said, getting super low, need some care as they're taking a quick little reset, but eventually somebody needs to find a pick.
No one's really done it so far. We've seen trades back and forth. Maybe the dueling rallies on the point will help that out, though.
Yeah, oh, that's a good NT right there. Is it going to result in a pick, though, for the moment? Not really, but we're seeing if they can at least get one tick online. That'd be a start right there. With Smarties going down, it might be a little more than a start right now. Primal Rage going on in the backline as well. A second tick is right around the corner, and with bodies falling one after another, should eventually see it come through. DYS Fracture going to take this point with a minute on that clock. We'll turn that into 3.5, though, and we'll be able to get some momentum going into that second point.
Yeah, not too bad from them. At the end of the day, it does take them basically grinding that fight to a halt, but it gets the job done. They hit nades, they catch a really weird split with Smarties obviously being stuck in that backline. And because of that, we are seeing a change as well. Smarties now going to be on the Ash, so on these longer sight lines going to be super impactful, as we can already see just locking down this open space.
Yep, 100%. Mod unfortunately gets caught outside of the bubble with that rock. He's going to be taken down. That pretty much deletes any possibility of having a real push in this situation. So everyone needs to back up a little bit. Get a nice pick over onto Snowflake, but unfortunately they're going to get back with plenty of time for the next fight.
I'm curious to see if we actually see... what are we doing on this timing? Okay, we're curious to see if we see EMC Kinaidos try and fight the choke or just stay on top of this high ground we see them on now. Their silence are a lot better on that high ground. They do have to give us some free push for it. Smarties we see right now uncontestable. I mean, you've got the whip shot and the coach gun both to deny a jump from Mod, who's already poked out.
Yeah, just has to get a little bit of extra care, but Nano is on the way, so likely to send the Nano onto Modest. They're going to go in. Flux is going to be used immediately onto Modest. Not going to take care of them, but it is going to cause some serious damage to force them to rethink the strategy. But Smarties has gone down as a result of Ravage right now, trying to fall off right now with the overclock right now, dealing a lot of pressure. At the very least, it's also cleared off the high ground, but unfortunately, Spec, those spawns are so close. The pulse bomb misses in this situation as Mod sees a little bit of care to be able to survive. Eventually is going to be able to get it, and now it's probably your best opportunity right now if you're DYS Fracture. Take this one away, and Barry needs to balance whether or not they want to use this orbital right here.
Absolutely not. Right, you're down 2. You just sell Lazuli on the cart. If you get a kill, it's nice, but they decided to rip it.
Oh. Yeah, but Barry's still alive and kind of popping off a little bit, but unfortunately, there's just too much waiting for you. They're doing a really good job of stalling it out, though. That's all you need to do. If you can stall out with enough time for somebody to maybe get a retouch, you could get that. But unfortunately, body's far away. Gamble does not work out for Kinaidos. And DYS Fracture, 3 minutes to finish. I mean, it's very doable at this point.
Silver lining is that you'll be able to force out the rally, of course. Winch isn't going to have that tool coming through. If EMC Kinaidos wants to put the pressure onto the backline, Kozia will have it. So again, in a brawl fight, they will have the lead, but the issue is going to be Ascend here. 70% to a nano boost. You have no tools really to stop that. The rally will be nice into it, but considering how split the backline can sometimes be from the rest of the team, I'm just not sure it'll be enough.
Yeah, it's really going to be a debate at this point whether or not it's going to happen right now. We see the Pulse Bomb and the Bob being used in this situation by Smarties and Witty Weave respectfully, as Mod just has to use the bubble and back up, keep everybody alive. So you take the 1-for-1 trade and get a little bit of a reset. Can't be mad about it.
Okay, the Nano's online, so is the Primal. EMC Kinaidos, if they use the Flux to stop one ult, the Rally to stop the other, they should be able to survive. There's the Nano up first, there's the Flux onto it.
Yeah, again, every time Mod gets hit with that, they use the Primal Rage just to be able to survive. But it's pretty much targeted every single time to make sure Mod cannot do anything with that Nano. And I don't hate it, because Flux isn't going to find too much a lot of the time anyway, so you take that trade, you get the 2-for-1 deal, can't be too mad about it. But still a lot going on in the backline spec right now. I'm going to see if you can find an assassination over onto Smarties. Unfortunately, not quite yet, but it might not be the case for Cozier, who's getting plenty of care as the recall's gotten taken care of, and Witty Weave, unfortunately, is not going to have any backup on the way. So DYS Fracture, another reset on the way.
That it is expensive for both teams, being that the only ults they have upcoming in this next fight will be the Pulse Bombs, and I've got to say, so far, it reminds me of an old copy pasta referencing Jake. 0 kills from the Tracer ultimates so far. Would love to see them get a little bit more involved with the sticky bombs, and that's exactly what Snowflake attempts to do, hiding in the Mega Room. EMC Kinaidos will be able to get towards their Flux, and they're very pretty quickly. Ascend has been so fast with this Nano Charge.
I mean, entirely so right now. Coming around the corner from the double support ultimate here, buried at 80%, getting closer, closer. The Flux going to be used. I mean, they've gotten it so fast in this situation too, and that's going to be potentially a 2K right there. Was close to me, but it's going to be enough to kind of finish things off at the time. I mean, they're still going with this fight right now, but Mod just can't really do anything in the situation. You can't go into this 3v3 actively.
Yeah, closer spawns for EMC Kinaidos will make this a lot easier. And again, they'll have better ults coming into this as well. They've got the Orbital Ray. There's simply no real response that DYS Fracture have, bar a nade, and with Winch being forced back, then they're going to have to at least wait for them to be fully stable before they fight again.
Yeah. Being able to finish with time, not exactly even a question at this point, as Ravage unfortunately walks right into that one. Creates a 4v4 situation, but Honorbrick still alive with that rally holding on, so still be able to stay for quite some time here right now. Smarties coming back with that Bob. Ravage, same exact scenario right now, and now it could be a situation of Barry trying to close this one out right here. It's going to force everybody back. Mod is going back to help out, but the Primal Reach is online. Overtime going to be activated with the touches coming through. You're going to see if maybe you can knock around the Sigma, but Mod just takes so much damage. Drops from 1,300 to nothing in the span of a few seconds. You don't love to see it if you're a Winston fan, and if you are a DYS fan, you certainly don't, as EMC Kinaidos will stop them just before the end of the map. You're still a great distance to be able to get here, but unfortunately just not able to break through that last corner.
Yeah, I mean, what you really would have loved there was a pulse pick, but unfortunately never really came through. Playing the Winston into the Sig on last point, well, you have to frontline trade, and the Sig is just better. Lovely opening pick there from Snowflake, of course, as we get to see some of the replays from this point. But at the end of the day, it's very strong progress for DYS Fracture, about as deep as you can realistically be asked to get it. I will say Blizzard World is one of the maps where you can cap out the map, and you will see it. You will go to extra innings more often than, you know, for example, a Dorado or a Havana, I think is a particularly egregious example. But still, just before the map ends is more than past par. All the pressure now on EMC Kinaidos to try and duplicate that. Playing the Sig style, it will be somewhat slower. You won't have the ability to win miracle fights as much as the Winston, in my opinion, because your core just rotates so slowly. DYS Fracture will have control about when these engages come through. But that might not be enough. We'll see Smarties as well, going to be on that Widowmaker, going for a spawn pick. Obviously, when their counterpart did it, they didn't see any success. And another interesting thing is going to be the lack of hit scan DPS at all. Witty Weave and Ravage going to be on this double flex setup, right? What that means is that you'll have very strong dives. So Varied, Cozier, Smarties as well, if they decide to move on to a Sojin, will be under a lot of scrutiny. But also the walks of EMC Kinaidos are going to be very, very free. The only person who can punish them is Ascend with a nade or some shots, and that's just not all that likely into the Sigma.
Yeah. Went for the classic
Widow.
right there. Yeah. Well, for the classic Widow, Mod is not in the best situation. It's kind of in the... Eventually he's going to get a little bit of care. Was kind of in the middle of nowhere for a moment there. As Yana Brig are hanging back in that back right corner as we see. Not really diveable targets considering you don't really have a dive style here. But all it takes is one pick from Smarties to be able to get the momentum going. Mod just jumps into the fire in flames. Eventually helps be able to find the trade. But unfortunately, that would be very costly right there because now... you don't have anybody to really headhunt Leslie in this situation, so the sports might just have to get out of dodge here shortly.
I would imagine they would have to, yeah. You are down your Brig, which does hurt your survivability a smidgen. Barry going down means there are now no supports. This Tracer pick has to be traded. Snowflake finds a necessary one, and a tick and a half almost now garnered, but we need to see more than that from the EMC Kinaidos.
Yeah, and Ascend Winch kind of pincered there for a moment. They're kind of hiding away very nicely as a tick and a half currently on the board. Tries to find a nice body shot right there. You're looking for the headshot in that situation. Eventually, Smarty's going to find what they're looking for. Winch literally sitting on one health. Is have to run for that mega health pack. Will eventually get it right there.
Ooh.
Smarty's a nice little cleanup once again. Looks like it's all falling apart here for DYS Fracture.
Ah, that's crazy aggression, surely, but yeah, it's going to be okay. Snowflake is going down to Revenge, which does make this next fight somewhat awkward. Should it come through, but they decide not to re-aggress. Takes them a little longer than maybe they'd want, but EMC Kinaidos will be able to get this time bank extended now 5 minutes to get through a second. Remember, they don't have to finish with time, just finish. They'll have wall hacks first. That should make lining up this Gravitic Flux easy as pie. And they do want to go early, because if they go late, then Ascend will finish off that ultimate.
Yeah, 100% right now. That nano can be very important right now, and you don't really want to challenge Smart in this situation right now. It'd be magical if we could find the shot right there. Nearly finds it, getting close right now, but Ravage is actually the first one to go down in this situation. Is trying to find something in the 1v1, but focus on the 4v4 that's currently in front of you right here. Mod is going to separate Cozier in this situation. Mod might be forced to use the Primal Rage, but isn't going to get really an opportunity to do so as they're going to try to chase bodies down. And unfortunately, Woody Weeb is going to have to see the spawn room next as a Flux gets used because why not? Big old cleanup, get a ton of space.
I'm not sure I'm a fan of that Flux, but at the end of the... Ooh, that could have been crazy. But no, I just don't think it was worth the ult trade. Yeah, you get the nano boost out, but you are now down a very, very big tool. DYS Fracture will have the Primal 2 contest. That's going to be about it, considering the lack of success we've seen both Tracers find with the Pulses. The rally could be nice if it comes down to a brawl fight on the cart, but then Kozier's got their own and Orbital ready to boot. With a shots exchange, but so far, none connecting.
Yeah, so far it seems to be the case here right now. As you'll see that Pulse on ready to go might not need it in this situation. As that's gonna be a little bit of a nasty one right there. As it's gonna cause it to go through 5 minutes on the clock, a massive time bank, and things are not looking good right now for DYS.
Nice kills found from both DPS on DYS Fracture, but unfortunately it just wasn't enough. And now we're through to the last point. Remember, the most frontline trading area of the map, and DYS Fracture, by the looks of things, are still running a Winston. Finally, the chains comes through, but what that means is that they're going to be behind in ultimates. 50% on Flux is going to be an issue, and no Sojourn is going to be an issue.
Yeah, you don't exactly love to see that in that situation right there. I mean, Smarties just kind of made this their playground so far here on Blizzard World, especially with this attack right here. And now, that's only one fight away as DYS is only going to have that rally ready to go. Cozier has it to match in this situation, though, and it can just take one big pulse bomb or one quick flick from Smarties to kind of send this one careening downwards as Ravage trying to figure out what needs to happen next. As pulse bomb gets thrown out, it's eventually going to get rid of only the Immortality Field, but that might be enough to cost you right now. Flux is going to be used. 1.8 seconds left on the clock. Body's still alive, but Mod gets taken out, and that could be falling apart from there. Ravage just managed to find one hanging around on the point right now as Woody wants to try to find something on the follow-up. Unfortunately, they're the last body remaining on the point, sitting super low, and eventually gonna fall over, and with plenty of time to spare, gonna move us over to match point, and oh boy, Kinaidos have definitely found the momentum.
That they most definitely have. I mean, their own defense was, nothing to scoff at. It was strong, but, they were attacked on relatively competently as well. But once it comes to their own attack, then they kind of just walk somewhere, and they were allowed to take that space. Normally you'd see some amount of poke to stop them from going somewhere. You'd see a nade, a dive, something. But it felt like if they wanted a position, it was theirs, no real jostle for it. And I think because of that, EMC Kinaidos were able to win that map with, what, like a 4-minute time bank or so? That's just a lightning fast attack. That's a bit of a shutdown. If I'm DYS Fracture, I'm scrambling to figure out a solution because they can do that too on the next map and realistically every upcoming one.
Yeah, it's kind of scary in this situation as to what you can really do, because it felt like for a while that DYS found some kind of momentum, especially kind of moving through that second point. I mean, they went in there and they still managed to get, what, they had like 3 minutes going into third. That's a relatively good amount of time to have going into that. But unfortunately, Smarties went and jumped on the Widowmaker. We saw Snowflake popping off more, and Lazuli just refusing to die, essentially. And it's moments like these right here where, unfortunately, that's not the kind of trade you really want to take. You don't want to trade out your Winston for a Brig, and things like this happen, and it just snowballs from there. Unfortunately, DYS, not a ton you're able to do to recover in that situation.
That shot was crazy.
Honestly.
that one caught me off guard. I thought that was the most free Widow death I've ever seen, but instead just absolutely shut Snowflake up. Unfortunately, it didn't matter at all, but it's nice that I'm putting the clip down, you know?
No, 100% in the situation. As a match point already here, EMC Kinaidos want to try to wrap this one up and have themselves a quick night here. But DYS still another opportunity to bounce back. Map 3 will be on the way soon. But before that, Spec, going to take this one to a little break here. So stick around to see whether or not it's going to be a quick 3-0, or maybe if DYS Fracture have a little fight left in them.
Let's have a bit of fun till I downfall. My love, if you feel like I do right now, don't say you're on the run to the other side, my love. But you never do. Sugar, there's a reason why we lose. You say you wanna cry, but you never do. Sugar, there's a reason why we lose. Let's have a bit of fun till I downfall. My love, if you feel like I do right now, don't say you're on the run to the other side, my love. You say you wanna try, but you never do. Sugar, there's a reason why we lose.
Ladies and gentlemen, so far here today in the EU region, it has been a fight between EMC and DYS, trying to go back and forth and trying to make something happen. And especially on for that first map, Lijiang Tower, it seemed like we were in for a very close one. I believe it was like a 99-99 and like a 99 like 70 something in that situation, which that's about as good as you could ask for a close first map. Unfortunately, Blizzard World didn't really fully reflect that same idealism, because unfortunately for DYC Fracture, EMC Kinaidos came in, just rolled through on their attack. So far, have all the momentum in the world.
Yeah, a lightning fast attack coming through on Blizzard World has very much knocked DYS Fracture for 6. See if they can reorient themselves coming into map number 3 here. Of course, if they don't, they'll be taking, I believe, their first loss in their first game, in fact, of this CGL season, of course, being number 15. Would love to see what they've got. Obviously, it may well be that the Zen ban really just annihilated all their brain cells, really threw off the strats that maybe they've been prepping. Maybe now that Zen's unbanned, can't be banned for the rest of the game unless they, too, decide that Vinyas is maybe a no-brainer. Maybe that changes something up, right? You know, they were playing the kind of Zen Bull Brig style before. They've got first ban. They can go for, again, a support protect if they particularly want to. But I suppose we'll have to wait and see, right? Is there anything we can really do? Because EMC Kinaidos with this 6-star seem to have cracked the code.
Yeah, it kind of seems the case right here. Obviously, we could see what Snow is going to be getting into Colosseo, because it's one of those situations where Colosseo is one of those maps, and more so, it's one of those map types, honestly, where momentum can kind of be decided earlier on. We've seen plenty of teams make a comeback, but if you can go in there and get that advantage in the first 3 or 4 minutes, and you could just work on doing 50-50 on the rest of the fights, that can really play to your advantage. But of course, that's getting that momentum, being able to have a good what's the exact word I want to use here? Basically, the fights that happen in the middle, you want to be able to have a comp that performs very well in that situation. So, gonna see if that's gonna reflect it, because so far both the teams have been kind of just very comfortable running their own kind of unique styles.
Into the ban phase, this is what's going to be really curious, because DYS Fracture have had some time to think about this ban, so I'd assuming now there isn't too much buffer time between, once the clock starts and once it stops. A Sig ban could be very viable. Sigma's a very strong hero on Colosseo in general, right? Especially that kind of center stage of the map we were talking about earlier. Because of those sight lines being a little bit longer, you can get great work done in these kind of neutral stages. You could also go towards the backline. We have seen Juno spammed and spammed and spammed. If you remove the Juno, then, they're forced to go to something more punishable, because the Kiri won't be able to work with the Sig. Mm-hmm. And of course, you have to be thinking about your protects as well. They're taking their sweet time with this one, I've got to say. But we are yet to see exactly what they want to bring into the action.
Yeah, a little curious as to what it's going to be. I think there's quite a few good choices in this situation, depending on if you just wanted to. At this point, it is going to be likely targeted bans, as we're going to see the Brig get taken care of. So Brig Juno, not going to happen. But to be fair, it hasn't really been a must-play situation. We saw from Blizzard World, you don't need a Brig to kind of pop off and have a good team composition.
Probably not the ban I would have personally went towards.
Yeah.
Yes, it does protect the rest of the supports, but I don't think you're particularly fussed about it. If you're banning Brig, then you can't play comps I would assume we would want to see from them, right? We were seeing Brig before, with Brig Ana, Brig Zen. Yes, it removes Brig Juno, but so does banning Juno, right? And you can still play Juno comps, you can play Juno Lucio, you can play Juno Ana, Juno Kiri, and all of those would be still relatively viable. EMC Kinaidos, of course, can't go for support ban, so it's on to tank and DPS. I don't think they have a strong opinion either way, to be honest. I don't imagine that they can... Unless there's like a scrim strat that we don't know about, I kind of imagine they just go towards like a Junkrat or something, because... what do you care about, right?
I mean, at this point, just kill the ball, honestly.
I don't think it's worth,
just kill the ball.
Honestly. I think the ball here is like bad enough that if they don't play ball...
What do you think?
They banned it, but I still don't like it. I think that bull here sucks. You can't, especially like when you have like no Brig. Like, I think bull comps are very, very risky. And I think you would rather save the bull ban through until we're onto a map where Wrecking Ball will find more value. Colosseo isn't it. You hear it's like, he speaks like Good Guys, the EMEA expert Wrecking Ball one-trick team. They don't play bull here. Even though Golden Pants is rank 1 on Wrecking Ball. Because they find even his like average Sigma is better than his best in region Wrecking Ball. I think the hero just sucks here, and I think you'd rather save the ban through. But equally, if you win here, it really doesn't matter, does it? It's just me trying to get the
Yeah.
extra, like, 1% out of the bans.
Yeah, I guess my philosophy on this situation, which is a philosophy I believe in, at least when we're in particular situations like this, where obviously it probably wasn't the plan to come out on the wrecking ball. There's probably a plan to come into something else. But we see sometimes that teams will kind of just jump back to their comforts when they're in a really desperate situation. And sometimes those desperate situations can cause for them to make some kind of comeback here. So the last thing maybe you want in that situation is for DYS Fracture to, you know, do bad in the beginning and then suddenly get some momentum after they do some swaps. So maybe you're pretty much getting rid of the ideology of them having a comfortable plan B. That's the way I would try to look at it in the situation. Doesn't mean it's the most effective ban. No, by no means whatsoever. But you're getting rid of an effective plan B tool, which maybe not, while great for the map itself, you have a player who's really good at it, very comfortable on it. It's something you want to consider. And to be fair, there are plenty of worse choices in my opinion.
Yeah, that's definitely true as well. So we'll be going in here. Can DYS Fracture get that reverse sweep started? Or will EMC Kinaidos be able to start off their CGL run with a 3-0 sweep, just steamrolling over their opposition? Of course, we do see a sub in, Crimson, coming in now. So we'll see exactly what changes that makes. We were seeing, you know, a lot of double flex stuff anyway out of them, so maybe they want to continue with that trend. But we'll have to see exactly what the variation in hero pool is, or whether maybe it even just is like an availability issue.
Yeah, gonna see whether what's gonna be the case here or not. But Coliseum, honestly, again, I made this compliment yesterday when we were doing this map here. But I think it's a beautiful map, especially you just take a look at the structures like over on the side of the map. Looks like a very beautiful map. It's very it's been very hated over its span of creation, but you know, has some good moments. It's really not. We've had some good moments here on Coliseum. I mean, this is where what was it, back in 2022 when we had the
Yeah.
Map 7 Grand Finals? This is where we finished. We're looking literally at the spot where that season finished. We're looking at it. So some good history, as right now Kinaidos currently rocking a little bit of what they were running back on Blizzard, which, to be honest, it was working great. I don't see why you wouldn't try it again, I suppose.
Yeah, if it keeps them working, you know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. They are playing Bap Zen, which is going to die on cooldown to this heavy dive style. We'll see if they make an adaptation faster, sooner rather than later, because as we recall, remember, Brig is out. So maybe move towards like Kiri Lucio, see if that is going to be more or less an issue for them.
Yeah, gonna see what the case is gonna be right now. Mod already been in a desperate situation. Is low, or doesn't have nearly as much shields as you normally would in a lot of these regional situations. You have the Lucio and the Kiriko, but Kiriko and Lucio are able to kind of jump around, be where they need to be in situations. But either way, Mod has come and forced to kind of run around, and unfortunately, it's gonna cause for the rest of the team to kind of just be in a situation where they can't really recover. You're gonna quickly tag out Mod to be able to get this moving forward. So confident start right here as DYS Fracture. Strategy not quite working out at the beginning.
Yeah, I think the thing is, you need to be able to win angles with an orb trace on it. It's as simple as that. When you have this much investment into taking angles with basically all 5 people being able to exist in that kind of space, you need to be able to just obliterate Snowflake whenever they're in an awkward spot. So far, that's not happening, and because of that, Cozy and Varied are just so safe. That's got to change.
Yeah, and Mod's just getting like battered away at as well. Like Mod has not been able to stay like above like the half health marker, but it's gonna go in. Gonna be a bit of a risk, especially walking right into his Zenyatta. Immortality Flow going to be used. This will be causing eventually for the deletion of the backline. So a little bit of momentum going back over to DYS Fracture. The unfortunate part though is that nobody ever went to the cart. So while they're gonna win the fight, they basically sacrificed a whole fight's worth of progress over.
They passed forward spawns almost, or just before it?
They're like right there. They're like 2 or 3 minutes away from it.
Really, really unfortunate. Not the start you would have wanted at all for DYS Fracture. But at the end of the day, they're on the board. They've got some ultis. The issue here is that Kitsu is only going to be useful when Lazuli doesn't have Goritic Flux, right? Because if you just Flux on top of the Kitsu, you zone the entire ult, but basically Palmer, that's going to be a huge, huge issue, especially if the pulse connects or if the rail shot comes through. Winsweep goes down already. A 5v4 for EMC Kinaidos.
Yeah, but at least they're getting a little bit more progress, even if it is eventually going to fall over. They've gotten up to 25 and counting over here. Eventually, it's going to get stopped, and maybe you try to force something out of Kinaidos, but unfortunately, it doesn't seem like that's going to be the case. And now, you can stagger here just a little bit, because that cart is moving and grooving. So 5 ults going into the next fight. This EMP, it's got to be massive.
I mean, It will probably be pretty big. You know, you might not get an auto cancel, but if Cozier doesn't catch the timing to react to the EMP with the trans, then you're kind of fried. I will say the EMP and the trans dance has been somewhat simplified with the Sombra reworks, but it's still a possibility. Early Kitsu, but I'm assuming EMC Kinaidos just don't have to engage with it.
Yeah, there's option to kind of pretty much give up the checkpoint, take a clean fight, and hold on to the EMP. I don't hate this. It's going to make your next fight a little tougher, but to be honest, now you can just use EMP for this fight, and I mean, I think that might be... It's a gamble, but it might be a better situation.
I'm not sure I like this at all, honestly. If you don't win consecutive fights here, then you're so far behind. This is all about winning this fight here. And EMC Kinaidos also have 5 ultimates. It's a huge risk, but we'll see if that gamble pays off.
Yeah, but I mean, you have the beat wheel set up for things, as Cozier is going to just pull the trigger in this situation right here. I guess better safe than sorry right here, but EMP is ready to go. Is waiting for the moment right now, but is going to find the hack instead. Unfortunately, not a very good place to be right now. Smarty's going to try to get something. Unfortunately, the trades are coming through. This mod has found 2, but a third really needs to be found here eventually right now, as Witty doing a good job surviving as long as they manage to. Unfortunately, there's not a whole lot remaining here. It's just the supports, but the supports doing a really good job of holding it down, and now as people are going to be eventually getting back, it looks like they are just going to kind of back off here a little bit. Maybe try to get a little bit of progress here.
They will be able to get some, not enough for the lead, I would expect, as the respawns begin to come through. EMC Kinaidos decide that the Juno's more comfortable than the Zen. I will say I'm not sure about this choice either.
Ooh.
It just feels like still so vulnerable, as we see already under so much pressure, but this time able to survive.
Yeah, Beat's still ready to go. We're going to see the flux coming through right now. No ability to come through. Beat has been used, but Crimson unfortunately gets taken out in the assassination, as we're getting a little bit of back and forth, as only going to get taken away a little bit right here. Smarty's coming online, managing to find 1. Doesn't get the second, but damage might be enough, as the card is just being taken away, by the way. Leslie says, I don't want to fight this. I would rather just push this card all the way back, but eventually the pincer should come through, but this is a great job of just like forcing a new fight. Yeah.
Are we saving this EMP? What are we saving this EMP for? Why are we holding EMP for 5 minutes? Can we see it also get used, please, guys? I would love to see it get invested. It's a perfect opportunity now. Crimson, please just ult them.
Yeah, it'd be really nice. This is your opportunity coming up here right now. You're going to definitely need this fight, but if you can get rid of Lazuli, hey, maybe you don't need it. But everyone's managing to stay in a very specific location. That way it's not really easy for you to get a big EMP off. So you gotta be smart about it. Gonna see if you can take out Lazuli naturally. You wanna see the EMP come online. It pretty much gets solo used on Lazuli, essentially. So now it's all about trying to clean up this fight and making it happen. So far seems to be working in their favor right here, as Snowflake gonna get deleted, as Car's gonna get stolen away again temporarily, but will eventually be stopped right here. We're gonna see whether or not that's gonna be enough to be able to keep the lead in your favor.
Yeah, EMC Kinaidos should be able to maintain that lead, but it will be close. I gotta say, with the EMP, then with it being pulled so late, you could have charged 2 EMPs in that time. You could have got an extra fight win in that time. An extra fight win, and the lead is in favor of DYS Fracture. That's why I hate holding the ultimate for that long. Also, so awkward here for EMC Kinaidos. His orbital rate is a necessity, really.
Yeah, false bomb misses as well, and it's a little bit of a back and forth as we see the support's kind of popping off a bit. Mod does have the bomb just in case. It looks like they're gonna have to let it rip here. It's gonna force everybody to go around the corner to see if you can get enough progress to maybe force the lead, but doesn't need to be forced. You're just gonna get it. With that, the checkpoint, and now with that, Ty is online. Realistically, the lead momentarily.
Cozier tries to go aggro to finish charging out the last couple percentage points of the orbital ray. Gets nothing done and dies for it. Unfortunately, there's nothing really you can call that but a feed. May is going to be out for Smarties. Normally Snowflake's port are cool, but not a bad choice by any means here. We'll be able to put some pressure onto Mod, limit the Diva's availability, aggressiveness somewhat.
Yeah, and we're going to see right now, we see a Flux come online. Unfortunately, gets separated, gets thrown away. D-Flight coming through as Cozier managed to get a 2K. Getting online right there. Did invest multiple ultimates for the fight, but at the end of the day, everyone going to die or get out, so everyone will be ready for another fight here at the midpoint.
I'm really not a fan of that ult vest at all. You only needed one of those ults to convert that realistically, and you used 2. DYS Fracture coming up to both support ults in the next fight, which you have no answer to. If Snowflake doesn't find a pulse pick, you are essentially screwed, unfortunately. So, EMC Kinaidos, bought on their side, but very much still on the back foot.
Yeah, 100% in this situation right here. So, important fight coming around the corner right now. A 23-meter difference thus far right now as Beat is ready to go. Mod might end up being here shortly, but is going to get knocked out. They're about to get knocked out of the mech, as going to see a bit of a trade here from the Tracers. And be activated, but it doesn't matter because Crimson is not going to get held by it. Ascend is going to hold on to the Sunny Rush, unfortunately, not going to find anything. And now, unfortunately, this is becoming very bad news because not only are they going to get the checkpoint back, but they have the ult advantage, and there's no longer a beat as a backup.
Yeah, just a huge throw for DYS Fracture, unfortunately. They come in with ult advantage, they don't play to their win cons, they trade out negatively and invest. Ult advantage, of course, here for EMC Kinaidos. They get Kitsu'd into, but surely this is disengageable.
Yeah, but Ascend has managed to get rid of Smarties. Right now, Cleanse going to be able to stop the Pulse Bomb after the stick right there, and now that's going to be a fight win there for DYS Fracture. Looks like they're coming alive, making this one their own, and they only end up getting the one ult, or actually one or two ultimates out, but either way, good fight. Take a bit of a reset.
I mean, I'm assuming there was either no read or Smarties just kited the wrong way, because that looked like a very disengageable Kitsu. They went all the same direction. I think they got punished for it, but they've still got decent ults coming into this next fight. We need to win consecutive though.
Yeah, dangerous spot right now. Ascending gonna have to use that cleanse a little early in the situation right now. Blade is ready. Not really a ton to be able to kind of prevent it here right now. Is Crimson gonna go in, gonna have to try to hang around, but Blade is gonna get activated right here. Flux has been used on top of that. Freeze! Flux!
Oh, damn.
Crimson, I do not envy you in this situation right here. Bomb gonna be activated as well. Gonna see right now if you can live. Mod so they're gonna be able to hit the remake, but unfortunately it doesn't mean that the fight win is going to come through. In fact, it looks more likely that it's going to be a slow staggering out of this fight loss right now. It's Lashley being kept alive very nicely by Varied and Cozier as eventually Numbers game will play its factor, and now ults are burnt. DYS have nothing for this next fight.
That is true, but it's also a necessary fight win for EMC Kinaidos, right? We look at that time bank. 35 seconds left on the clock. They do not have any room for errors because they do not also have the lead. They take the lead, they're golden. They don't, they are out of this map.
Yeah, Crimson has to be careful. They did edit the cleanse out, though. Mod, though, gets hit with the D-Mac, unfortunately. And now, the best thing you can do is maybe try to steal this cart a little bit, but Crimson is going up against the one character they really should be trying to fight against, May. You're going to be able to slip away momentarily, but unfortunately, the Numbers game is playing its factor. In fact, they're going to get that checkpoint. They're going to start moving this along, and somebody has the touch.
They don't just yet. They still have some time before they actually get towards that lead, but fighting to double support is going to be such an issue. The space control EMC Kinaidos have is just insane. They don't touch!
They got off! What?
You sausages!
No. There's no way. Oh, no.
It happens. It happens. It happens.
That's crazy.
Unfortunate. I thought with the comp they were playing, they would have touch for sure, but unfortunately, they just goof. No two ways about it. D.Va had touch, I know, but where's your second touch, guys? It wasn't even really the end of your first one, as Mod just gets rocked off cart. That's unfortunate as all hell.
That's insane. To be fair, my brain went two different directions with that one right there. My gut reaction, which is why you heard me have the visceral reaction, is because I thought Kinaidos got off the point. I thought they had just lost for a moment there and realized what had happened before my very eyes. As, yeah, I mean, that's an unfortunate way for your series to end right there. But, I mean, to be fair, you had some fight. You ended up looking like you had the advantage most of the time there as well, so you definitely had some momentum your way. Unfortunately, I mean, I think both teams had a couple of misplays on their ultimates, and unfortunately, I think DYS had, like, the biggest bulk of it near the end. Unfortunately, they literally just did not have an answer for the last two fights at all.
That's how Overwatch works, especially in this current economy. Ult's very prevalent, so if you're behind an ult, GG. I think we saw that most prevalently, of course, in Stockholm. But we get to see the... Sorry, that Tracer trade is just silly. You see, Mod gets tries to go for the touch, but just rocked. Really unfortunate there, but great play, of course, from the tank of EMC Kinaidos to take that win 3-0 fashion. Started out close, Blizzard World maybe not so, Colosseo relatively close. It's one of those weird games where I'm just not sure how competitive these teams really are, you know, even though we've played 3 maps. Obviously, EMC Kinaidos on paper are better, but how close are DYS Fracture? It feels like it's a very on-the-day kind of scenario. These bans really make things confusing.
Yeah, I think you take away that attack that EMC Kinaidos had on Blizzard World, and I think this otherwise looks like an extremely close and competitive matchup. I think Fracture did reasonably what they could here today. They just had unfortunate moments where they weren't able to kind of clutch the key fights they needed to. The ult kind of got out of whack a few times, especially when it there on Colosseo. just times where unfortunately the investment's not going the way you would hope. Things like the late beats when you've already lost somebody and there's no real scenario where you can kind of win that fight. But either way, such things happen in life. This is the first week. It's still a learning process. You go through. It's one thing when you go and you train with each other for a couple of months. When you get into that first match, it becomes a bit of a different story. As from there, it's kind of like a whole different process of learning.
Absolutely. Hopefully, throughout the rest of this season, we do get to see a bit of a learning process take place. Obviously, everybody's still getting used to these new hero bands as we get a refresh on them one last time. But I think the early games, we are going to see people's first impressions towards the end, especially in the higher tiers, like our EU GM tier, for example, or our open tiers as well. That's where we're going to see some really thought-out picks come through. So watch for that, because that's what I personally are going to be keeping my eye on throughout the rest of CGL Season 15.
Yeah, 100%. It's going to keep developing as things go along. Everyone's kind of going to figure it out more and more because for some players, this is their first opportunity to work with a ban system. It's been used throughout things like Face WCS, things like some of the other leagues around us as well. But for some players, it's the first opportunity to kind of play around with it, and that might take a few weeks to really get down how exactly you want to kind of play the system in that regard. But that's for a different week, Spectron, as they'll be able to go back to it next week and try to, for one, to bounce back, and the other for to keep the momentum going. But in the situation, it's getting close to getting out of here. But before we properly go, Spectron, we're going to get an interview set up here with one of the members of EMC Kinaidos. So we're going to run it to a quick break. When we come back, the interview will be ready. So stick around, because it's bound to be a good one. Welcome back from the break, ladies and gentlemen. We've just finished up a nice 3-0 series here. Have the winners, EMC Kinaidos, going to be celebrating their first win here of the CGL season and help celebrate and figure out a few things. We have Smarties joining us on that squad. And first and foremost, congratulations on a great start to the season.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And one thing I like to figure out from a lot of players and a lot of teams is obviously a lot of teams have come down from that 14th season of CGL to now season 15 here. So maybe for you or more so for EMC Kinaidos, what's kind of been the journey and rebuild like from kind of the off season to where you are right now?
So this is my first time ever competing in CGL.
Ooh.
So I just kind of dropped an LFT on Twitter and Fifi hit me up and I just said, sure. I don't know anything about the team, really. Like, we
That
scrimmed
is
once.
that is the typical LFT style right there. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
No, fair enough, fair enough. I mean, for me, I want to ask first about what happened on Blizzard World, right? Your defense, you seem, competitive with your opponents with DYS Fracture, and then your attack, you just steamroll them. What was the change? You guys just an attacking based team, or walk me through what happens?
So I think swapping to Widowmaker just made a lot of space. I got to AFK the entire round. I didn't matter. So I got to just like scroll TikTok, sit on cart.
Fair. You can't argue with that, realistically. And then I also want to ask about, in general, how you guys found the hero bans, right? Obviously, it's a new season to a lot of us, new to CGL Season 15, and you guys seem to use it to pretty good effect. Was there any points where you felt like you were consistently out-banning, or were consistently out-banned? Was that maybe why map form was a little bit close, or, tell me what you thought.
I personally don't really understand bans. I just kind of understand like what is good in a comp, so I know what they wanted to play every map, and I just kind of thought like what we could ban to like force them off that comp, and what we could ban to like make our comp better. I think that's really it. Blizzard World was tough because they got to play Monkey.
Well, sometimes it just got to be as simple as that. But speaking of simple, a relatively small group of teams around you right now, so it's gonna be one of those situations where you'll see quite a few teams multiple times over the course of the season and the playoffs. Looking at kind of who is left, is it any team that you kind of have your eye on that you really want to have the opportunity to go against, or more so maybe you're anticipating to hopefully maybe see there at the end?
I don't know any other teams in the bracket, to be honest.
Okay.
It'd be cool to meet Fracture again.
Okay. Hey, you know what? Cool. Nice little rematch. I mean, Fracture had their moments. Maybe we have the Big Bang map 7 at the very end of things. For all we know, you never know. Maybe a little bit of prediction. We'll come back to this clip in like 4 months, and I'll look super smart as a result. That's fine by me. But obviously, want to give the opportunity to go and celebrate with your squad. But before we send you away, if there's anything you want to say personally, if there's anybody you want to thank, we will open up the floor for you to be able to do so.
I'd like to thank Fifi for inviting me to the team, and I'm just here to win it all.
It cannot possibly be more straightforward than that. We absolutely love to see it. So, Smarties, once again, congratulations on a big win to start the season. Yep. And of course, best of luck with the rest of the season as well. All right, you're free to go celebrate. So, take care. You have yourself a good night.
You guys have a good day, guys.
Yeah, so I think it's pretty chill interview we got there. Smize is like, yeah, I didn't really know what's happening. I just kind of showed up and shot people. And evidently it worked out pretty well for them. He seems so relaxed about that 3-0.
Yeah, that might be the most straightforward interview I've done in all of these years. And I couldn't be happier as a result. But either way, clear level of confidence. Clearly think they can go and hey, maybe win this whole thing here in the EU GM tier. And I know there's plenty of teams that are hoping for the same thing throughout all of our division, Spectron, including our NA Masters division. Another match happening later on tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time between Shoe's production crew and Fellowship Esports. Again, should be a very, very entertaining match. I will very tentatively use the word entertaining.
I think it will be entertaining,
Oh, for sure.
It's kind of like if you see, like, somebody in the supermarket trying to like load the shelves and they accidentally drop all the eggs anywhere and you feel really bad for them, but there's also a little bit of like almost schadenfreude, Anyhow, that's going to be, as you mentioned, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Make sure you tune in for that game as well. But I think other than that, that's going to be everything for us today. So unless you got anything else to say, Hunter Tane?
I mean, I don't know. I've had fun today. It's been kind of the 3-0s to start, but honestly, that's almost expected because certain teams are more prepared than others. Teams kind of will adapt over the course of the season, such as life. When we get further in, especially when we get to those mid-season, the playoffs, we'll have those close matchups and we'll be able to see that. But that being the case, that's all I've really got in the situation. So we'll send you all off. Make sure you come back later for some more NA action. Maybe you should go watch some OWCS. It's a lot going on right now. I believe there's like 1 or 2 matches still to happen. But, go enjoy yourself. It's a great weekend of Overwatch. You better go enjoy it. But for us, we'll catch you on later tonight for some more Overwatch action.